So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining today. I'm very pleased to welcome you to the fourth webinar of the IDEA4RC webinar series. I will just introduce briefly myself. My name is Lidia Villanova, and I'm a project manager for Alliance Against Cancer, which is the national network of comprehensive cancer centers and research hospitals in Italy. And as a Work Package 10 leader in the IDEA4RC project, I'm very actually pleased to welcome you to this webinar today. I will briefly share my presentation. Okay, I believe you can now see the slides. So I will briefly introduce what the IDEA4RC community aims to do, because this webinar series is an initiative launched within the IDEA4RC community. The purpose of the community is really to bring together stakeholders from different fields, patients, researchers, software engineers, data scientists, and any other research and healthcare actor. If you wish to subscribe to the IDEA4RC community, you just need to scan the QR code and you will be receiving updates on the project latest developments and also get involved, if you wish, in all the upcoming initiatives that we will be organizing, such as workshops, focus groups, and so on. And all these, your involvement will be tailored to the preferences that you express in the subscription form. Please take the opportunity to join because we will co-create the IDEA4RC data ecosystem together. The IDEA4RC project is a European project funded under Horizon and aims to create a federated data ecosystem for rare cancers by including 11 clinical centers participating in the European Reference Network on Rare Adult Solid Cancers, EURACAN. When we launched our community in June, we were very pleased to welcome as first members the patient advocates of the EURACAN network. And since then, the community has grown up to 54 members from multiple health sectors. Now I will draw your attention on today's agenda. After a brief introduction on the IDEA4RC data governance layer, I will give the floor to our first speaker, Ioanna, who will provide an overview of the data permit tool that CERTH has developed. Ioanna Drympeta is a legal informatics expert at the Center for Research and Technology in Greece and is a Work Package 7 leader. So we are very happy to welcome Ioanna today. Please, Ioanna, come forward if you would like to introduce briefly yourself.
Hello, greetings from Thessaloniki. My name is Ioanna Drympeta. I'm an electrical and computer engineer, and I'm a research associate at CERTH in the Informatics Technologies Institute. And indeed, today we will be speaking about the data governance layer, the work on which has been both challenging and also exciting in the scope of the project. Happy to see you all and glad to present in a few minutes.
Thank you, Ioanna. And then after the demonstration of the data permit tool, a presentation of the data altruism concept will follow by Vasiliki Tsiompanidou, a legal researcher at the European Center for Certification and Privacy, that you will probably already know because she was the speaker of the former webinar in March. Please, Vasiliki, welcome.
Thank you very much, Lydia, and thank you everyone for coming. If you missed the previous webinar, I am Vasiliki Tsiompanidou. I represent the European Center for Certification and Privacy, which is based in Luxembourg. And our focus in the context of IDEA4RC is ensuring that the project is compliant with legal and ethical requirements, hence our involvement in the data altruism concept. We are very excited to have you here with us today, and we are looking forward to your active participation.
Thank you, Vasiliki. Then, after Vasiliki's introduction on the concept of data altruism as it is explained in the Data Governance Act, we will go back to Ioanna for a demonstration of the data altruism tool, which is the tool that IDEA4RC has developed to allow patients to donate their data for altruistic purposes, as it is in the scope of the Data Governance Act. After all these very exciting presentations, we will go to our Q&A session. So you can interact by raising your hand and take the floor, or alternatively by writing your question in the Q&A tab. We always conclude by launching a live opinion poll. So we actually look forward a very lively interaction during the poll, where you are welcome to share your view on the topics that have been discussed. So I will now spend a few words for introducing the data governance layer. Here you can see the user journey as it is described in the European Health Data Space Regulation. So there are different steps that the user experiences. The IDEA4RC solutions have been designed to fully align with this framework. First of all, the user experiences a data discovery phase, when a data discovery tool is assisting him. We indeed have developed a virtual assistant that assists the user in navigating the whole procedure. And this will probably be the topic of an upcoming webinar. Then the user moves to a data permit application because, of course, after he has identified the relevant data sets that are of interest for him, he needs to submit a data access application. And this data permit application is managed through the data governance layer that Ioanna will explain in detail in a few minutes. Then we also have developed a cohort builder, which is a natural language processing based tool that allows the user to type the query in a natural language. And then the tool automatically retrieves the patient cohort of interest. Then, after the data permit application has been evaluated by all clinical centers and the data permit is granted, the user will be notified through the same web interface. And in case there are comments to address, the user will be able to make any modification to the application through the same user interface. Then once the permit is granted, the analysis will be able to be executed through a secure processing environment, which is basically an environment to process the data that preserves privacy. And this will be possible through the federated learning. That means that the algorithm for the analysis is executed locally on each dataset, and then the results of this analysis are then aggregated and the user receives basically the results of this aggregated analysis. So the user will never be provided with the patient's raw data. Zooming into the data permit application, this is the data discovery phase that I described before. So the first phase of the user journey. Researchers have a research question that would like to address and start exploring different datasets descriptions or metadata, and in order to find the datasets that are relevant for their search. And here is when the data permit tool comes into play, because the researcher will have to submit a data access application, and each clinical center will evaluate this application according to its own specific procedures. Because we need to take into consideration that GDPR was implemented differently in a diverse way throughout Europe. So different states may need different documents or follow different procedures. And the really innovative aspect of this tool is that with one single access application, you can actually ask access to all these datasets in the 11 clinical centers participating in IDEA4RC. And then once the permit has been granted, the user is authorized to perform his analysis. I will then stop here and hand over to Ioanna for her overview on the data permit tool.
Thank you, Lydia, for this great introduction. I'll share also my slides. So, regarding the IDEA4RC governance layer, as Lydia explained, a very focal role that we play is that of the data access application preparation and evaluation tools that are also responsible for data permit management. This comes after the metadata search and discovery and before actually granting access to the data. But not only that, the data governance layer also takes care of usage tracking and auditing in the IDEA4RC environment, which is a legal requirement by the European Health Data Space Regulation that all through the project we are trying to adhere to. And it also covers the data altruism consent and management that are under the Data Governance Act and refer to patients being able to provide data individually for research purposes for good use. Now, starting from the data permit platform, you may already have heard of several national tools that that take care of access to data for research purposes, such as FinData in Finland, the Health Data Hub in France. There is currently work from the European Commission to create a platform for such use. And a lot of work is going on in Europe in this point. In IDEA4RC, in parallel with these efforts, we wanted to create an efficient toolset with configurable governance settings, because we have many centers of excellence involved as data holders that have different terms and conditions for sharing their data. And this toolset will be used to create EHDS-inspired data agreements that employ innovative technologies. So we enable the submission through our tools of a single application, but if necessary, there can be multiple revisions of it. The tools also offer increased collaboration capabilities among the data holder multidisciplinary teams, and also members of research teams that want to collaborate and submit an application to obtain access to data. And also, we take care to provide future-proof and interoperable tools, employing the data space protocol and being compliant with it for interoperability within the applications and permits, and also self-sovereign identity, which is a Web3 innovative concept that we will see also in practice later. This solution is novel, and it can be used for trusted health data holders and health data access body interactions according to the latest regulation published. So just to briefly mention a bit about the technology, for the data space protocol, the latest version was released only this February. It is an effort by many organizations, an international effort, mainly by the International Data Space Association and the Eclipse Data Space Working Group. Its standardization is on the way, and it ensures interoperability by having specific states for each part of the negotiation, and also specific messages and components. In addition, the IDEA4RC governance layer uses identity wallets, self-sovereign identity wallets, which are developed by our institute. They are conformant with the formal guidelines of the European Blockchain Services Infrastructure, EBSI. EBSI is the first public sector blockchain infrastructure in Europe. It is provided by the European Commission and the European Blockchain Partnership, consisting of 29 countries in total. And it means that there are nodes across Europe to create this blockchain network and to support cross-border applications, such as the verifiable credentials that we're using in our project. Through the use of EBSI, and its formal specifications, what we achieve is interoperability, as well as privacy by design, which was one of its main goals. We do not have personal data on-chain. Increased control of identity information and of privacy of each of the users. And also it enables the portability of the identity information. It overall ensures trust by enabling trust triangles, as they are called. It means that, and the way we use it is that every time the legal representative of an organization is to sign an agreement, we request the verification of their identity so that we can be sure that the signature is valid. And a quick comment also about the audit mechanism. Following the requirements of the European Health Data Space Regulation, we keep access logs. So who accessed any of the IDEA4RC tools and when. Usage logs, so who used the data, what they did with the data, and under which permits they performed these actions, such as running algorithms. And we also keep data permit logs for the application submitted and any changes, any updates to their state. We keep a log in with hashed records in a Hyperledger Fabric network, a blockchain network. And in this way, we can check the integrity of all our records and make sure that, that the records that are kept, the logs that are kept, are transparent auditable, and also immutable. They cannot be changed or modified by any malicious actor. What this would look like for data holders would be like this, keeping in mind that when each activity was performed, under which permit, and so on. So we can now move over to a quick demo of the data permit platform and its interaction with the rest of the tools. As mentioned, we have configurable governance settings, configurable templates for different intended actors as selected by the Centers of Excellence data holders in IDEA4RC. This enables the configurability both in terms of members of the data holder team that will review application, which can be ethics responsibles, legal people, professionals of legal background or scientific background. And it is also possible to tailor any of the input fields for the application templates and for the form that will appear to all applicants, both with the text fields and with the file uploads. After the submission can be viewed or deleted to adjust. Then there is a single application. All the different input fields added by the different data holders are combined in one form that will reach all targeted data holders. This is to make the tool more efficient, to make sure that the applicant doesn't have to fill in 5 forms instead of this one. It is necessary to select the purpose of data use as allowed by the European Health Data Space Regulation, of course, the legal basis for access to the data, and a description of the research that will take place. It is not necessary to submit the application at once. It can be afterwards edited, and also file uploads will take place. It is possible to add further research team members and make sure that it is only the right person that can submit. We do not allow all research members to perform the submission. And finally, the administrator of the application, principal investigator, can submit this application that, as mentioned, will be evaluated separately by each data holder, all under the same workspace. Now, moving on to the data holder side, we are now logged in as a reviewer. All application reviewers, members of the team, can add comments that will reach both the applicant so that they can fill in additional information if necessary, and also someone in charge at the data holder organization, a study coordinator that will be responsible afterwards for finalizing the feedback. So each reviewer adds their comments and fills in that, marks it that their feedback is complete. Then, as a study coordinator now watching, we can see those comments and decide accordingly for the feedback that will be provided. Additional information may be requested, or we can agree and select the type of signature that will take place, or reject this application, providing a reason for this rejection. In any case, all data holders that are part of an application can check what the rest of the targeted data holders have responded, the status of the application for each of them. Now, from the side of the applying research team that has received the feedback of the different centers of excellence, in our case, data holders in general, when additional information is needed, it is necessary to provide some further details in order to be able to proceed with the application. And we need to stress that since we're speaking about federated learning, we need at least 2 data holders to agree so that we can provide a data permit so that we can proceed with actually using the data. Finally, after the agreement, the legal representatives of the organizations need to sign. It is the applicant that has to sign first, confirming that they can sign electronically, and then accessing the document, being verified, as we mentioned, that we're actually speaking about the legal representative and not just any member. This is how we use the EBSI compliant wallets. There is a mobile app which stores all the information, the verifiable credentials, as they are called, for each of the users, for each person. And by scanning the code, the holder of the information, in this case the legal representative, can see what information is being shared and confirm it, so that they verify their identity. We know, since we're using blockchain and EBSI, that we can check the validity of this information there, and also that it is complete. Every time there is a signature, the signature is added at the end of the PDF file that can be exported. For the signatures, we are compliant with the IDEAs, as we are using the digital signing services provided by the European Commission. In this case, we have a countersigned. We have used here the PDF document. In the end of the project, we'll have an actual agreement that is currently being prepared. And to finish with the demo, we can see that we also keep some statistics, both for the organization in the dashboard and for the overall project in this statistics tab.
Thank you, Ioanna. It was very interesting and exhaustive to see how basically with a single platform, the data application can be managed by both the data holder's side and the user side. I would now ask Vasiliki to take the floor to explain the data altruism concept as it is described in the EU Data Governance Act.
Thank you very much, Lydia. So let me also share my screen and make sure that you can also see it. Okay, I think it should be fine for everyone. So yes, as Lydia mentioned, I will now be moving on to the data altruism concept, and you will actually see a lot of the aspects that the IDEA4RC ecosystem has integrated are also present in the data altruism requirements. Hence, Ioanna's presentation on how the platform works is an excellent example of how many of the aspects mentioned here are actually operationalized, also in the context of the EHDS. So I would go back a bit to the basics and see how the data altruism concept is first defined in the legislation, as this is a concept that first arises in the Data Governance Act, as Lydia mentioned. So in this regard, the data altruism is defined as the voluntary sharing of data on the basis of either the consent of a data subject who gives permission to process their data, their personal data, or upon the permission of a data holder to allow the use of non-personal data without seeking or receiving a reward. That being said, I would like to note that the concept of not receiving any reward does not include any fees that the data holder might incur in order to be able to provide the data, because fees are all in all allowed in the Data Governance Act. And going back to the data altruism concept, this voluntary sharing of data can only be made for objectives of general interest, as provided for in the member states' national legislation, and that of course includes healthcare, scientific research purposes in the general interest. But of course, as you can see, there are many more aspects to it, like climate change, improving mobility, statistics, and public policy making. Now, what are the objectives behind this introduction in the legislation? Practically, what the Commission has noted, and this is the main issue they were called to solve, was the lack of data in order to be able to perform research. With the introduction of the GDPR, of course, sharing personal data, even for research purposes, became a bit more difficult for data holders, but also for patients who had to provide their individual consent every single time. So the introduction, well, patients and individuals, I'm just referring to patients here because this is the main focus of the IDEA4RC project. So of course, the idea here is precisely to increase the data that is available for research and the data that is available to improve products and services provided, especially in the fields of health, environment, and mobility. And in order to do that, the Commission was really aiming to develop these trusted tools that will allow the data to be shared in an easy way for the benefit of society as a whole. And of course, this entails the establishment of pools of data of sufficient size that allow data analytics and machine learning, especially with the rise of artificial intelligence methods. These are the main objectives behind the introduction of the data altruism concept and their requirements. And let's see a bit how this is working in practice with a very simple design, because it is indeed a quite simple process in this regard. So data subject individuals, whether this is patients or other data subjects, practically find these recognized data altruism organizations, and they can provide their data to them. They can consent to their data being used for purposes of general interest, as we discussed. And then the data altruism organizations manages a bit access to data users. So data users who are researchers or institutions request access to the data that was provided to the data altruism organizations in order to perform one of these general objective purposes. And the data altruism organization, based on the data subject's previously explained preference, either provides access or denies it, practically. So this is a bit of a different process than the one that was previously described by Ioanna, that IDEA4RC ecosystem is implementing, because IDEA4RC is not acting at the moment as a recognized data altruism organization, but as you can see, the process is still quite similar in many aspects. So the recognized data altruism organizations in the context of the Data Governance Act are entities that make available this data based on data altruism, which have a non-for-profit character. They are registered in the official register of recognized data altruism organizations in their member states and the Commission one. And they comply, of course, with the Data Governance Act, among other legislations, and the rule book that is meant to be published by the European Commission in the upcoming period. At this moment, there is only one recognized data altruism organization located in Spain, as you can see from the actual register of the Commission. So at the moment, only this organization has been established in order to facilitate data sharing based on the data altruism concept of the Data Governance Act. Now, let's say you're an individual and you're actually interested to donate your data in order to allow research performed on them. How can you feel certain that actually your data is used in the right way? This is where actually all of the requirements for the recognized data altruism organizations are coming into play, because they have a lot of transparency obligations in particular. So all of these organizations must record all of the parties that were allowed to process the data and duration of the processing of personal data or the use of non-personal data, the purpose of such processing as it was declared by the data user, and any fees paid. And this is information that these organizations must maintain for each and every access rights they give to data users. And as you can see, this is quite similar to what the EHDS is requiring, as was described by Ioanna and that we discussed in previous webinars as well. At the same time, these organizations must prepare an annual activity report that is provided to the competent authorities, where they provide this list of objectives of general interest that are promoted by the organization, a description of how the objectives are pursued, the list of everyone who has been allowed access to the data, a summary of the results, as well as the information on the revenue sources. Of course, this is something that the organizations, the recognized data altruism organizations, need to do on a constant basis. But of course, every time data subjects or data holders are interested in providing data to such organizations, they will first be informed by those organizations about those objectives of general interest, which in the case of the existing recognized data altruism organization can also be found online, as well as the location and the objectives of general interest for which it permits any processing carried out in a third country, if that is the case. So all of this relevant information is also shared with individuals and data holders beforehand. And of course, this is something that is crucial, and Ioanna will actually show a bit more about how this works later on. The data altruism concept, especially when it comes to the processing of personal data, is based on consent. This means that data subject rights are fully enforced, including the right to withdraw said consent. Of course, this consent is slightly different to the usual consent given for research activities, as it is meant to be a broad consent given for a wider range of research activities and not a specific research project. And it is meant to cover the data processing that will then be performed by data users. And as such, it is meant to be customizable to each field of application and rather granular. It can be made in a paper format or in an electronic machine-readable form. And this was supposed to be developed by the Commission already, but they are currently experiencing certain delays, so we are still waiting to see how this final consent form template will look like. And just my final point here, the data altruism concept is actually recognized in the European Health Data Space as well, as there is a direct reference to the Data Governance Act. And actually, the European Health Data Space is providing certain additional requirements that mainly concern the security of the processing environments, requiring clear access rights and access restrictions, minimizing any risks of unauthorized reading, copying, or in any way tampering with the data, maintaining identifiable logs of access and activities in the same way that Ioanna also presented in the IDEA4RC ecosystem, and the incorporation of security measures. And with that, I conclude, and I can give the floor back to Ioanna, who can demonstrate a bit how this was adapted for IDEA4RC.
Thank you. Thank you for providing this background. Now, as we're working within IDEA4RC, we wanted a way to provide a chance to patients, in our case, cancer patients, who wish to donate data for research, to be able to do so. Donate it, let's say, as individuals, since the rest of the tools are targeted at organizations, hospitals, for instance. And at the same time, through the Data Altruism Manager, the tool that we're showing, the data altruism organizations can actually manage this donated data. It is important to stress that the tool is meant to work in combination with the rest of the IDEA4RC governance layer, since all those requirements mentioned about the identifiable logs or restrictions of access, technically enforced restrictions of access, not just mentioned in written agreements, can be enforced, can take place through the rest of the tools of the data governance layer. So in this case, specifically for the Data Altruism Manager, we developed a web platform in React.js for giving the possibility to patients to provide their data, and also take advantage of a dynamic digital consent mechanism that through which they can provide granular consent for specific purposes, for specific data actors, but at the same time, broad consent. They do not need, whenever there is a new study, they do not need to renew their consent to provide it for every different applicant. And we're also using blockchain, particularly Hyperledger Fabric, to keep an immutable log of the consent records. And in this way, the patient can trust that the information based on which the technical enforcements take place has not been modified by malicious actors. And in addition, the data users can rest assured that what they are doing is in compliance with the wishes of the patient. And finally, we're providing a chatbot, a large language model-based chatbot, to empower the patients and boost their digital literacy. Now, moving on to a quick demo. The first thing that an individual user can see logging into the platform is some information about IDEA4RC, where they can find further information about the project. And then they can move on to complete a questionnaire or renew an already existing set of answers for providing the data to the data space, to the IDEA4RC data space. In this case, we're starting with a new questionnaire just to show you what it looks like. And after everything is filled in and the questionnaire is submitted successfully, the user can provide their consent for purposes among the allowed ones by the European Health Data Space. You may remember them also from the previous video. And also for particular research areas and particular types of data users. The types of data users have been selected according to the choices of the centers of excellence so that the tools can be aligned. The consent can be submitted but withdrawn or modified at any time for any future research study by the patient. Now it is important to note the alignment of this tool with the data permit platform, both on the purposes and types of actors mentioned here, but also with the IDEA4RC data model. And this is the reason why we used this specific questionnaire for providing the data. Now, all these consent records are kept in a history log together with the dates of questionnaire completion so that we know the type of consent for each version of the answers provided. It is these consent logs that are stored in blockchain. And the consent versions are available at any time for the individual to check. And finally, we will move on to the chatbot that is in the platform. The chatbot is based on retrieval augmented generation. So it uses both a publicly available large language model, in our case, Llama 3.1, but also a customized knowledge base of literature in AI ethics and in regulation of the European digital strategy. And in this way, we aim to provide a tool with natural language, a user-friendly tool to the individual, so that they can learn more about their rights, learn more about the concepts being discussed, and empower them, and actually encourage them to provide data for research, as in this way they can understand better the benefits of performing so. A simple question, what is data altruism, that we're speaking about today, can be offered in very quickly. And the chatbot also lists its sources from the knowledge base. In this case, the Data Governance Act, and the link is clickable. We renew the knowledge base of the chatbot, we update it whenever there are new regulations in place. Finally, for the administrator environment, The administrator can have a look at metrics such as the number of total users, the consent updates that have taken place. After integration with the data permit platform, they will also be able to view the studies conducted. And finally, some statistics, consent statistics for the type of consent offered. From our side, we are done. Thank you very much for your attention, and the floor to Lydia.
Thank
to kindly
you,
coordinate
Ioanna.
us.
Thank you so much. And now we are very much looking forward to hear your questions on the tools that you have seen. I really encourage you to a lively interaction. So if you wish to take the floor, you can raise your hand. Otherwise, you can type your question in the Q&A tab. Let's see if someone would like to break the ice. So, Ioanna, I have a question regarding the data permit tool. If, for instance, only 2 clinical centers out of all the ones that house the data sets I'm interested in, grant the data permit, may I proceed with the analysis only on those data sets? Or I need to wait for the other ones to grant the permit as well?
As the tool has been created and developed, it is necessary for at least 2 to provide a positive answer. But it is also necessary for all of those applied to respond, to actually provide some kind of feedback. That can be a rejection, a request for additional information, or the envisioned agreement. As the regulation requires, there is a time limit for data holders to provide a reply, that is 2 months. So in case these 2 months pass without an answer by some of the data holders, this is taken as a rejection.
I see. And how long the data permit lasts? So for how long I can analyze my data?
This is configurable. It depends on the application of any organization that applies, and it is also evaluated as part of the application by the different data holders.
Okay, thank you. So it is really a flexible tool that can be adapted to the different requirements of the clinical centers. So data permit tool is basically of interest for the users. And then we have moved with Vasiliki to the data altruism concept, which entails voluntary donation of data by individuals, which means patients in our case of the IDEA4RC ecosystem. So I don't know if there are patient advocates in our audience that would like to ask something about the tool or the concept of data altruism foreseen in the Data Governance Act. What we would like to highlight is that the data altruism tool is now a proof of concept because we thought it would be worth developing this tool to align with the possibility that the Data Governance Act allows for patients to voluntarily donate their data, but this will need to be implemented. So in that case, IDEA4RC will have to pursue its recognition as a data altruism organization, as Vasiliki explained. But of course, we are interested in knowing if patients would be really interested in taking advantage of this tool. and if everything was clear about the conditions and also the requirements that data altruism organization need to meet in order to receive this kind of recognition. But if there are no more questions, I would move on and launch the opinion poll. And please, I would really encourage you to take part to this, because it is really fundamental for us to have your view on all the topics that have been discussed. So you should now be able to see the opinion poll on your screen, and you can submit your responses directly from your device. There are only 10 questions that are basically about what is your field of expertise, and then about what is your opinion about the usability of the tools that you have seen, and also other questions on data governance. And finally, like in the last questions, we really would like to hear what kind of engagement activities you would be willing to join. So, because we are now in the phase of preparing and planning the next webinars and engagement initiatives. The opinion poll, as I have highlighted in the previous webinars, is completely anonymous, so we will not be able to assign the answer to the person. We are only gathering anonymous data in an aggregated form. But this would really help us, to shape the further developments of the project. So I now can see the first responses coming in. So I would just wait until each of the questions has been got a reply. So we now are at 30% of completion. And we are perfectly on time, so thank you to our speakers for being so aligned and precise on the time of their presentations. Okay, I can see that everyone has replied until the last questions. Yes, so I'm going to end the opinion poll. Thank you very much for your participation. And thank you for joining us. And we will, oh, thank you, Maurizio. I can see a comment in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us, and I would just share my screen to give you the last, like the flavor of what we are currently preparing. Next. So as you may be aware of, we actually had 4 webinars starting from January, 1 per month, and the topics that we have covered are the ones that were ranked by the audience during the first webinar. So we have covered the secure processing environment, the natural language processing tool, and the cancer data model, and also a bit the federated learning during the second webinar in February. You will remember Eugenio and Unai, our software engineers. And then we have covered also the compliance of the IDEA4RC solutions with the current EU regulation, so the GDPR and the European Health Data Space. That was actually launched on March 26th. And this was the topic of the last webinar. And today we have gone through the data governance layer and the data altruism tool. So we are envisioning to launch perhaps another couple of webinars on the user interface to showcase how the Raven virtual assistant will assist the user in going through the different steps of the user journey. And then as soon as the pilot use cases on both head and neck cancers and soft tissue sarcomas will be starting, we will be also delighted to give you some updates on how these research projects are being developed. And finally, I would really, last but not least, actually, I would really like to acknowledge our speakers, Ioanna, the Work Package 7 leader on data governance, for showcasing both the data permit tool and the data altruism tool that CERTH has developed, and Vasiliki, which is now with us for the second time to showcase the data altruism concept, which is behind the tool that you have seen. And as usual, my heartfelt thanks to Chiara for providing these beautiful graphics that you have appreciated in our slides, and Maria Luisa Clementi for developing the IDEA4RC website. And of course, we all thank Annalisa Trama, our IDEA4RC project coordinator, for making this possible. And we now encourage you to stay tuned and wish you a great evening.